There's never been a better time to have SiriusXM. With over 140 channels in your vehicle, your all-access trial includes more than ever before to enjoy online, on your phone, or at home. Create your own ad-free personalized stations powered by Pandora. Hear ad-free extra channels and enjoy favorite shows with SiriusXM Video on Demand. What you love is on now.
It's been a fantastic time running through one brand at a time for the Powersports sessions, but we've arrived at the end, and I'm happy to say we've saved a juggernaut to round out the event, and that is, of course, Kicker Audio. They're with us today, live from the Kicker Studios. We're happy enough to be able to have both Ken Bundy as well as Aaron Malin, both from their global training team, because recently they dropped some bombs. That's right, they dropped some bombs. If you were paying attention to the CMA Live that we did, brand new product. We're going to dive deep today. This is CMA Connected, presented by SiriusXM. Kicker Audio starts now. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another CMA Connected presented by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. And as I mentioned, we've got Kicker Audio in the house today. And of course, we're blessed to have them coming to us live and direct from Oklahoma and their Kicker Studios. Of course, we wouldn't be CMA Connected if we didn't have also the Canadian distributor, who is, of course, Jemsen. Now, Jemsen, if we're going to have Jemsen on, I'm going to have my man Dave Singh. So let's bring on Dave and set up this show for us today.
Ben, good to see you. How's everything?
Good. Everything's great. You know, I said that Kicker dropped some bombs early in the week, so I've been kind of itchy and chopping at the bit to get them in the studio with us so that we can get more information and dive deep on some of those details. That, along with a couple other products that we're going to present as well.
You know, it's not too often that you get a sneak peek of some things that are coming down the pipe, and it was really exciting to be able to see the stuff that we showed earlier in the week. So I'm really excited to learn more about it today.
No, absolutely. I'm sure dealers tuning in are as well. But let's first set the stage. Kicker and Jemsen, you guys have been kind of BFFs for quite some time now.
Well, we have a long-standing relationship going back, feels like almost 2 decades. The folks at Kicker are great people. We've been friends. We almost consider them, family. And, they're great partners to work with. They have great support. They really bring it everything to the next level. And, we're so proud to be able to present Kicker for all of Canada. And, I can't say anything more than praises for Kicker. Incredible company.
Well, they're an incredible company. They do things with a certain amount of flair. I think you can agree with that. And, a really cool set of speakers that presented some neat, unique technology. I'm not going to give it away. I don't want to steal their thunder. We're definitely going to go over that today. But we're also going to touch on a couple of other categories within the power sports / call it bike range of product. There's a lot of products. So it's always a challenge for us to stuff it all into one show. But we're going to do our best. But more importantly, we're going to set the stage so that the guys who know what they're talking about can present that product. So without further ado, I'd like to invite to CMA Connected again. Well, some for the very first time, actually. Both Kenneth Bundy, who's their global trainer, along with Aaron Malin, who is their global training manager from Kicker Studios.
What's up, guys?
Good morning. Good afternoon. Welcome.
Yeah. What's going on? Welcome to CMA, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us, Ben.
I know, Ken, this is your first time on, and Aaron, I think we've had on before, but I'll tell you, anytime I get to connect with one of you, part of your training tech squad there, it's always a fun time. You guys know what you're talking about, and we can't be more excited than the news and the details you're going to share with us today.
For sure. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Ben, like you said, we wanted to touch on Powersports was kind of the name of the game, but you referenced it does kind of bleed over into a lot of other similar categories, be it marine or motorcycle or anything like that. So some of the products we're talking about, they're not going to be exclusive for motorcycles, or they're not going to be exclusive for maybe side-by-sides. So keep that in mind for every product that we talk about. But,
absolutely. Yeah. I think the guys coming in who are tuning in today are excited to learn a little bit about everything. I already see the products that you have on, so you're kind of whetting my appetite already. But just before I let you go, when it comes to Kicker, they don't do anything half or at 50%. When you dedicate the brand to a certain category, it's all in, isn't it? And I just want to hear, the philosophy behind that from Kicker.
That's exactly right. So when we come with it. And you know what? A lot of this is in our blood. So whether we're talking marine audio or power sports or motorcycles, that's because we love Harleys. We have people in R&D that ride Harleys, and they go to all the Harley events, and they listen to the crowd out there, and they design products for the Harley driver because they are one. For example, Harley.
Yeah, and in addition to that, Steve Irby, the founder and owner of Kicker, he is personally involved in every project. That doesn't mean he designs every product because we have a whole R&D team, but he personally listens to and auditions everything we offer before we can sell it, because you want to be sure that it's got his signature sound on it. So everything you get from Kicker will have a similar sound, a similar signature sound, which is the Kicker way.
And he's not afraid to throw an entire project in the garbage if it's not going the direction you want. This isn't the type of thing, well, I'm not really happy with it, but we spent so much money on it, I got to push it out. He's not like that at all.
Very, very cool. So I did preface this show. We did have Joe Gross come on to our CMA Live last week, and he came in dropping bombs. So I'm expecting a little bit of more elaborate description, because he just went real quick and said, "We got this. Check this out. This is crazy," and then he went away, and he left me there with a lot of questions. I said, you know what? I'm going to be reserved and professional, and I'm going to hold back and wait until the guys come on and give a proper presentation, talk about what we're going to learn today, and then we'll be able to circle back, both Dave and I, with you after your presentation and really dive in a little bit deeper. So without further ado, go ahead. We'll give you the stage, and please let's get this training underway.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you very much for that, Ben. So like Ben said, we'd like to talk a little bit about each of the products that we have here on the table. And then if you guys have questions, we're going to certainly dive a little deeper into that later, but much deeper than what Joe Gross probably went into. So let's start with these big boys here. Let's get them out of the way. So for those that have never seen these before, these are the Kicker Power Bars. These are amazing pieces. What we're talking here, guys, is an all-in-one solution for your side-by-sides, for marine environment, anything like that. And they come in two different sizes. If I can get them both on camera here. Oh, I'll just pick this one up and hold it over here. So this is going to be the KPB-1 and the KPB-2, large, extra large. So what we have here is a 6-speaker system. This guy over here is going to be a 10-speaker system. So for our description here, we're going to stick with the KPB-2, the larger one. So we're going to have 8 3-inch speakers along with 2 titanium dome tweeters are going to be built into this. The amplifier is built into this. Your head unit or Bluetooth receiver is built into this. This is an all-in-one solution. So if you want to put this up on the roll cage or that side-by-side, it's made for that environment. So these are going to be all-weather. They're IP66, and the KPB-2 has 300-watt RMS amplifier built into it. And it's designed to be the source unit. So if your side-by-side didn't come with a source unit, just throw a KPB-2 up on the roll cage, and that's it. You're good to go. Pair up to your Bluetooth device or whatever it may be. It does also have aux in and aux out. So if you do have an aux connection somewhere maybe in the glove box, because you can keep your phone out of the sand or the mud, then by all means, you can do that. So you can aux into the power bars if you choose. So we've got Bluetooth connectivity, aux in, aux out if you want to run to a outboard amplifier. Maybe you want to add on a subwoofer or something like that. You can certainly do that. Add on a 4-channel amplifier because you got door speakers or whatever it might be, or pod speakers somewhere maybe in the back. However, the coolest feature that I personally like about the power bars is something called broadcast mode. Now this is true wireless connectivity from power bar to power bar. So you can put 2, 3, 4, even 5 power bars into one vehicle. Or if you have friends that also have Kicker power bars, whether it be the KPB-1 or the KPB-2, they can all pair together wirelessly and play together off one device. So you'll have one in what we call a master mode, and all the rest, unlimited amount of them, can be in slave mode and all play together off one device. So everybody can pull up to the campsite or to the dock or wherever you are with the KPB-1 or 2, and you can all rock out to the same music at the same time without having to run wires between them or anything crazy like that. So really, really cool design. There are 4 different EQ modes that you can go through. I think it's loud, sound quality, kicker, and voice. So if you can get the sound that you're particularly looking for. But one thing I wanted to emphasize about the power bars is no matter which EQ you pick, it's going to sound great. It's going to sound great. And that's something that we've been really known for, is not only high output, but it sounds great also, and that's something that unfortunately some of our competitors can't always say.
Let me jump on this
please do.
EQ real quick. So this is an important point to understand, is that when you're at high speed, wearing a helmet, going through the dunes or the mud or muckety muck, whatever it is you're doing, we've got an EQ mode for that. And what it's actually going to do is it's going to detune the bass just a little bit, because as you know, at much higher volumes, the bass has a tendency to break up or to crackle a little bit. But you can't hear bass at high speeds anyway because you're
Especially
losing
wearing a
it.
helmet.
Exactly. So we actually have a setting for that, so that when you're in high speed mode, you still get loud, clear music without any distortion. Now let's say it's the end of the day and you're sitting on the sand dune, or you're in the beach or wherever it is you're doing, you can now set it to the kicker mode, and it's going to change the sonic signature. So now you're getting a full frequency response, highs, mid, lows, everything coming out of it, because now the environment is completely different. And that's why there's 4 different modes, so that we can give you options depending how fast, how slow, or whatever it is you're doing.
Yep, exactly. Perfect. Thank you for jumping in on that. Let's talk a little bit about mounting these before I leave this product.
Oh, yeah.
Mounting is extremely important. So we have 4 different mounting locations on the KPB2, the extra large one, and 2 different mounting locations on the smaller one. Now, on the larger one, you actually only need to use 2 of these 4, so 1 on each side, and that's going to be dependent on whatever you're mounting it on. So if maybe there's an OEM bracket blocking one of these mounting positions, that's okay. We've designed it so the entire weight of this piece can be supported with only 2 of the mounting tabs on it. So maybe you pick this one here, this pair here, and this pair here, or the outside ones, or whatever it might be. There is we'll call it a mounting shoe that goes on top, and that can be rotated 30 degrees so you can mount this on curved bars. So say, for example, the bar you're mounting it to has an arc to it. That's okay. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight. The bar is made for the KPB1 or the kicker power bar is made for that orientation. As far as diameters of the tubing, make sure I got them right here, so we can mount to 1.5 inch, 1.75 inch, and 2 inch bars. And then we have a separate accessory pack right here for square tubes. So very, very popular on golf cars.
Golf cars.
Exactly. So if you guys want to rock out on the golf course, or maybe you guys just take it around your neighborhood or whatever it might be, we do have an optional accessory pack, and the tube diameters for that are 3/4 inch, 1 inch, and 1.25 inch. So it's going to mount the same way to that golf car, but with square tubing, of course.
And Ken, you didn't say this explicitly, but I want you to understand too, there are mounting points on the bottom and the top. So this can be mounted from either orientation, up or below.
Exactly.
In addition, it comes with these little angled brackets, so you can get the correct rotation depending on if it's above you or beneath you or straight on.
So no matter what installation you're forced to do because of your particular vehicle, it's very, very flexible in how it mounts and installs to make sure it looks great, sounds great.
There's also an installation video on kicker.com that'll help you with some tips and tricks.
Sure.
John Myers does a great video on how to install this thing, even if you're by yourself. It's kind of hefty, but even if you're by yourself, he can help you install it.
We've got a couple install videos on that. But anything else I forgot about? Oh,
The
the
remote.
remote.
Yeah.
How could I forget the remote? I pointed right at it. So with every single one of our power bars, it includes this RF remote control. So it comes with this little rubber strap that you would wrap around the steering wheel, clip onto the steering wheel, and then you have control of your power bar, or of course you could reach up and hit the buttons, but maybe folks in the back seat want it, or keep this in your pocket. Again, if you're at the campsite and you're not next to your side-by-side, so you can do volume up and down, track forward, track back, play, pause, etc., etc. And this is RF, which means it's not line of sight. So if you're anywhere at all near it, it's going to work. So that does come with it. This includes a rechargeable battery. It has a lithium battery built into it. It recharges via micro USB, so no worrying about having to replace coin cells or anything like that. So very
In
cool.
addition, if you've got 2 or 3 of these in broadcast mode, that one remote will control all of them.
Yep, absolutely.
So just one press up and down, everything's adjusting at the same time.
Yep, it's well designed.
It is. It's a fantastic product.
Should we move on?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I think this is probably the product Ben was talking about as the big release, and we're actually really excited about this too. What we're going to talk about here, let's get this power bar out of the way, Aaron. I think we can bring it back if we need to, but clogging up our shot while we talk. Move this over here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the KMXL line of speakers. So you might see that it looks a little marine-like. Well, it's marine and Powersports line, and in fact, comes with both white and gray grills. These are going to be high output, very, very loud, but again, like all Kicker products, they sound fantastic. And that's because we've done a lot of R&D to make sure that they don't sound tinny like you get a lot of times with compression horns. And that's what we have here is a mid-range driver along with a compression horn here in the center. And it comes in, let me get the size to make sure I keep my notes because I don't want to misquote something here, but it's exactly 6.5 inch, 8 inch, and a 6x9 inch size. So again, these are both marine and power sports, and specifically on that power sports note, because I'm sure this is a power sports show, you guys want to learn about that stuff. The 6.5 inch comes with 2 separate horns, and that's what Aaron's holding there. So we have one installed. Oh my goodness, get into the details on this. Guys, that was so hard to take off of this metal piece. Neodymium. Neodymium. So this is an all composite basket with neodymium motor, and it is built like a tank, made for that all-weather environment. But let me talk more about what Aaron's holding up there. If I take this grill off, which by the way has RGB lighting in it, you're going to see the cone here. Ernie, if you get in tight on this, they can probably see a little bit better because I'm going to take this off. If we can get to the close-up shot, Ernie. There he is. All right. So you guys can see this here. So if I take this top grill portion off, you guys can see this compression horn. Now, we're going to put this on a Harley Davidson, let's say. Take the horn. We're going to unscrew it. It is well screwed on.
There's a lot of threads.
There is a lot of threads, but they want to make sure that it's going to last. Take this slightly shorter horn, but it is not actually that horn chopped off. The actual mathematic formula used to derive this horn is different. And you can see that it just screws right down into the KMXL.
Ken, we got to talk about that math. I'm going to talk about the math while you're tightening that down. So the math that he's talking about, it's called the Tractrix equation. And the Tractrix equation is how we design these horns. A traditional non-Tractrix horn has the ability to make music much louder, but it also alters the frequency response. So if you've ever been up close to a non-Tractrix horn, it sounds kind of screechy, kind of harsh. It's because that non-Tractrix horn is actually altering the frequency response, introducing distortion, making it sound loud but not clear. This particular horn design is a much smoother response. It is a continuously increasing radius, which means there are no standing waves. There's no distortion coming from the horn. So it projects the sound at great distances with high clarity and high volume. And that's what really special about that
That's
horn.
where R&D pays off, right?
Yes.
So you guys can see here that the horn is now much shorter. Before it was sticking out about like this, but now it's much more flush. Yeah, I don't know why I can come up with the word. So now this fits behind the factory grills of your Harley Davidson, just like that. So we come specifically with that in the box. So this will drop into that front fairing of the Harley Davidson. That's going to be all the Batwing fairing. So it's Street Glides and Ultra Classics, I believe, are going to fit into that behind that factory grill. It's a cool piece. What can I say? What else? What am I forgetting? So I talked a little bit about, how come I forget all the wiring and everything else? So again, like I mentioned at first, it's all composite basket with neodymium driver, and we have separate inputs. I don't know which camera I'm looking at here. All right, here we go. Separate inputs for both the compression horn as well as the woofer. If you did want to buy amp and actually put your own active crossovers and get real fancy with it, you can certainly do that.
Crazy.
And then the RGB wiring here. That goes all into one single watertight 8-pin plug. So this will be in the fairing. Hopefully you shouldn't have too much water in there, but if you do, it's made for that environment. And then of course you can detach that and you'll see this guy that's included here on the end. And that's going to be the passive crossover. For those of you that are not going to go crazy with DSP and separate active crossovers and all that other business, this is what you're going to use. So just hook up simple amp wire. It just comes with just one single input, and then the passive crossover network will send the correct frequency band to the correct portion of the speaker. And then this is going to be your RGB connection. So you have red, green, blue, and the black wire.
Something we talked about earlier, I want to bring this back up, is that as you said, Mr. Irby, if he's not happy with the product, then it's not ready to ship. And a couple months ago, there was a group of us actually in our listening lab listening to these speakers. And a few of us, myself included, there just wasn't something quite right about it. And so we ended up playing with some of the crossover values. And just by changing some of the caps and coils, we were able to get exactly the sound we wanted from this driver. And so it really comes down to last-minute details can be changed because we do all the R&D right here at Kicker. So it's important to understand that these products are designed for you, our consumers, our customers, with absolute sound quality durability, reliability, and of course the Kicker signature sound.
Right.
And one more thing I want to geek out on, Ken. This motor structure is another one of the really special things about it. We're using a single magnet to power the tweeter and the mid-range. So there's actually 2 separate voice coils, but 1 magnet. So it's a very unique design, and that's one way we could make it much smaller. We also were able to make it less expensive because
Right.
we're using a single neodymium rather than 2 different magnets.
Right.
So very, very special drivers.
Yeah, one thing, I mean, you're talking about how we designed everything. One thing that they designed is for this to be field serviceable. So if by chance you blow out the compression horn driver, we actually have a warranty stock on those that we will give out to our clientele so you can replace that in your home. So it's actually very, very simple. You can replace the horn if you destroy it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So cool piece.
Awesome. Well, let's move on.
Yeah, I think that is just about it. If I didn't talk about anything on that, we will talk about it in the deep dive, but let's get over to our next product. And that is going to be this.
We didn't rehearse this part, can you tell?
Yeah, can you tell? Let's see if you guys can see that there. We'll hold it there. So we have a whole line of Powersports speakers, all the way down from a 4-inch, 5 1/4, 6.5, 6x9, specifically made for the Powersports environment. They come in both 4 ohm and 2 ohm models, all-weather design. They're voiced for the outdoor environment again. So when you're riding your Harley or your sport bike or whatever it is, 70 miles an hour with the helmet on, still sounds great, right? So we've made an addition to that lineup, and this one's actually taken that to a step further, and that's what we're going to talk about today. This is a 5x7, but it's also specifically designed for Harleys. So you can use this in other environments outside of Harley, but if you're a Harley owner, this is where the rubber meets the road, right?
Yes.
So this Harley 5x7, again, all-weather design, and unlike some of our other Powersports speakers, this one is, again, an all polymer basket. So it's a fiberglass reinforced nylon basket, and it uses neodymium magnet. And hey Ernie, if you can get close in on this, if I hold it up here, because they need to see this little connector, and that's what really makes this guy special. Hopefully they can see that-ish. This guy right here, some of you guys might recognize it. This is a Harley-specific connector. So if you have those factory 5x7s, you can unplug the factory 5x7 and plug in the Kicker speaker. You're done. That's it. Bolt it in. You're ready to go. If you do not have that specific Harley connector, if I got my notes here, it's 2014 and up. You should be able to use this connector here. If you have a bike older than that, 2013 and prior, spade terminals. So it's regular spade connectors like you would find on any other speaker is available down here. But as you can see, it's also very shallow and lightweight. Again, if you're putting these in that front fairing, you don't need a lot of heavy weight when you're trying to turn your bike left and right or anything like that. So all-weather design. It uses polypropylene cone and a PEI dome tweeter on it. 2 ohm and 4 ohm model, 60 watts RMS.
Yeah, let's talk about that weight on the fairing real quick.
Sure.
This is something that we learned from Harley Davidson. Our original project, I forget how many years ago now, we worked with Harley to create our first PS 5504 5 1/4 inch. And they said they have a very specific weight requirement for the OE products that if you start changing the weight on the front of the fairing, it actually changes the driving dynamics, as Ken pointed out. If you can imagine riding your bicycle with somebody sitting on your handlebars, that's an extreme example, but it absolutely changes the way
We've all been there. Well, kids seem less and less like that, but yeah, we've all been
Our age, we did that. That's how you got around town. So it's really important, and we have to educate our consumer on that too, because a lot of the consumers, they want to buy the biggest, most massive, heavy speakers because they look
stuff,
great.
Yeah.
But if they don't understand that at 70 miles an hour, when you're going off the off-ramp,
adding
suddenly
8
the
pounds
bike,
onto the front, left or right, I mean, that's quite a bit.
Yes, we need to educate our retail partners on why these products are specific. And another point, Ken started to talk about this a little bit, is the sound dynamics of these speakers is very different than our car speakers and even our marine speakers, because the environment requires that the mid-range cuts through all the noise, the dirt, the dust, the helmet, all of that. Wind and the side pipes, you know, blah, 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 what's it called? The
exhaust.
Hate your neighbor's pipes, or I forget exactly what they're called, but there's a name for it. But anyway, so these speakers are designed to be heard at high speeds, so that customer is not going to lose that sound quality when he's going high speeds. So that's important to point out too.
Yeah, 100%. They're designed for that environment. So very cool piece. And if you're a Harley owner, grab and go.
There you are.
Plug it in. You can do it yourself. Let's talk, while we're talking Harley, let's talk Harley. These guys
lids.
here, that's right. So for those guys that have those saddlebags in the back, we got, I would say 2 flavors. Let's go ahead and bring that one over. Oh, okay, perfect.
For you.
So these are complete replacement bag lids that are going to house a 6x9-inch speaker. Now, we do have some competitors that do have a similar item. Ours are not a copy of theirs whatsoever, and I'm going to talk specifically, but honestly, what makes ours better. This goofball over here.
Sorry.
So first and foremost, you can see they do come in 2 flavors. So this is a unfinished, ready to be painted to your particular color. Because a lot of bikes got custom
Scuff
paint
it,
job,
paint it,
etc.
yep.
This is Harley Vivid Black. So if your bike is Harley Black, you can just buy these. Or
70%.
yeah.
That's what they are.
Yeah. So this is the way to go if you've already got that black bike. Comes with the grill, little Kicker badge on it, as you can see. You can buy them both loaded with Kicker 6x9s or unloaded, as they're shown here. But the thing that makes our bag lids quite a bit different than some of our competitors, that little bracket there actually bolts to the back and kind of holds the weight of the speaker, and it helps keep the speaker from deforming the bag lid. So if you folks have ever used the other Harley bag lids, a lot of times you're open, closing, the weight of the speaker on the bag lid itself, it tends to kind of untrue the shape of the bag lid, so it doesn't really want to snap closed anymore. You kind of have to, all right, pull it out and then latch it on.
Right.
So we maintain the integrity or the shape of the bag lid using that bracket there. Additionally, our speaker, our 6x9-inch speaker, mounts from the top. So it actually mounts in from the top here, where some of our competitors mount on the bottom. Now, if you think about that for a second, if you mount on the bottom, then the weight of the speaker, once you've got your bag lid installed here, the weight of the speaker, if you rotate, is actually just being held in by the 4 screws. So we were having some of the competitor products where the actual screw tabs were completely breaking out. Maybe the screw was stripping out, and now you can't even hold the speaker in place, and the bag lid's kind of destroyed at that point.
And water fills it up.
Yeah, and of course, yeah, and then watertight integrity again. But if you mount from the top, the weight of the speaker is actually all along the outside, of course, and then you can guarantee much, much better watertight integrity. So with ours, you don't have to worry about the lid deforming or water intrusion. You don't have to worry about having a bag full of water. And if you guys have been around, folks, with the aftermarket bag lids, I'm sure you've probably seen that before. So cool pieces. What am I missing on those, Aaron? Am I missing anything on that?
Well, we include all the hardware.
Yeah, hardware to take your existing bag lid off and then strap our new one on. You'll be Powerbar's talking to us.
That was Aaron Surratt.
Yeah, we had it powered up right before the show. Anyway, you'll take the factory hinge off and then the factory latch, the chrome latch, which would be, you guys can see this little hole here. Yeah. So the factory chrome latch will come off, and then the factory hinge will come off and then strap onto your new Kicker bag lid.
Yeah, that's it. You covered the basics.
Yeah.
Ben, let's bring you back in here, and let's follow up with the questions you guys have.
I'll tell you what, I have a page full of notes that we're going to dive into real quick. But before we do that, I'm going to give you fellas a break.
All right, good.
That was a great presentation, a lot covered there. We're going to give you a quick break because you mentioned, Aaron, that there was a video that you guys have available on YouTube. Well, I actually got the video ready to go because I want the folks to see just how easy these power bars can be installed. And I think John Myers walks us through it. We're going to roll the tape, and then we'll be back and we'll have a discussion about everything we learned.
Thanks, Ben.
Good.
Sitting here in this 2021 Polaris RZR, and it has zero audio whatsoever. It's got no head unit, no speakers. Now, we got a couple challenges. The owner wants to take this out this evening because it's Friday morning. He's ready for a long weekend of playing out in the sand and the mud. So what are we going to do? We're going to put a Kicker PB1 power bar right up here on the top of the roll cage to ensure he's got great sound. We've got another challenge. We're not going to drill any holes or modify this vehicle whatsoever. So is it possible? Absolutely. Let's show you how. We know we're going to mount the power bar up on the top of the roll bar, but it's got to get wires to it because, yeah, they're not wireless. We don't want to put the wires on the outside of the bar because that doesn't look good and it's just not safe if you roll it over. So we want to run the wires inside the bar. Just remember, if you drill or modify this bar whatsoever, you're going to affect its structural integrity. That might be a safety issue, so we do not recommend altering the bar whatsoever. So we're going to use these factory drilled holes in the bar that the Polaris engineers have put in there for us to run our wires to that Kicker power bar. As we mentioned, the biggest challenge is running the wire through the roll bar without drilling any holes. What first glance, that looks like it's going to be a problem down here at the base of this roll bar, but it's not. The Polaris engineers have actually given us the liberty of running wires through this without drilling holes with this little hole. This connects to the top, therefore I can run the wire down through the bar, slide this boot back into place, completely concealing the wire and protecting it. As you can see, we're getting pretty close to mounting the kicker power bar to the roll bar. No, these wire ties are not the proper mount. This is a set of helping hands if you're going to try to do this yourself. It really makes it a lot easier. Now with the power bar, you get these little mounting feet. These need to be attached to the power bar ahead of time, but remember, these are actually sloped in two different directions. You want to make sure you get them the same direction so the bar will mount properly. It will also mount to a curved bar up to 30 degrees should you have one. Included with the kicker power bar, you get 3 different circular clamps to clamp it to the roll bars. You get a 1.5, 1 3/4, and a 2-inch. If you're going to mount the power bar to square tubing of 3/4, 1, or 1 1/4 inch, you can buy an optional accessory pack that allow it to mount to those bars should you be putting it on a golf cart or other vehicle with square tubing. So no matter which you use, the square or the round clamps, make sure you use this included rubber strap. That's going to ensure that the bars can be tightly affixed to the roll bar so it doesn't swing as you're driving the vehicle in rough terrain. Mounting the remote is very simple. Take the included strap, connect it to the back of the remote, wrap it around the steering wheel, fasten it in the buckle, and you're good to go. So we're at the final stages of this install. We've routed the wire under the dash, through the console, making sure we keep clear of the shifter. We've connected the positive to the battery with the fuse very close to the positive lead. In fact, it's about 3 inches away. And we've connected the ground to the battery. All we need to do now is put the seat in, fire this thing up, and give it a listen. So here we are at the end of our installation journey. The seat's back in, the power bar is mounted and paired up to our Bluetooth device. The steering wheel control is mounted and connected to the power bar. For more information on the operation and functionality of the Kicker power bar, please visit kicker.com and search out any of the training videos, or please visit our YouTube channel.
I don't know about you guys, but that fella there looks like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. John's the master.
Yeah, he knows a thing or two.
For a second, I was like, wow, look at these really high-class clamps that Kicker has. They look like zip ties, though. And then he explained what they were for. So, no, actually, that's a really cool trick, especially because, you know, these things, you know, it's hard to tell through the screen, but I imagine those got some hefty weight to them, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think the large one is 21 pounds.
Oh, it's more than that.
Is it?
It's gotta be.
Still, if you're trying to hold this up and screw in some outlets, it's a pain. So that's where the zip tie trick, if you're doing it alone, comes into play. You know, if you got some real helping hands, then that'd be nice too.
And, you know, a testament to, you spent a lot of time talking about the bracketry, but dude, you're talking about a really heavy piece of equipment going through some really rough conditions, mounted to a solid frame. It needs to be able to endure the vibration, the shaft. You know what I mean? Like, the last thing we want is that to break or fail and hurt somebody, because that's a heavy piece of equipment.
Exactly. That's exactly correct.
Okay, so 2 models. I had a question for you about that. So you said there was an auxiliary in and an auxiliary out. That is a full range signal that can go on to an amplifier, correct?
Yes, sir. So aux in and aux out cords are included. They come pre-wired. Everything's all pre-wired into the Kicker power bars. So you have your aux in is actually the black one, and the line out is going to be the gray one, and they are full range. So aux in is self-explanatory. Most folks know that. The aux out is going to be full range. So, but even if you wanted to just use a subwoofer or something like that, this would be what you'd use. 4-channel amp to power some other speakers, or maybe cans in the back. A big 2-channel amp with some cans. This is what you'd use.
I was just going to say, you know, what would you recommend if I wanted to do a step 2 or step 3 to that system? Because the great thing about soundbars is I could use it as like a baseline. And then, like you said, maybe I want to put in some cans in the back, or I want to add a sub. So let's go with that 2 scenarios. If I want just to add some bass now, because obviously those are, what are they, 3 or 4 inch drivers in there, you said?
3 inch, yeah.
3 inch
drivers.
So let's say I want to get a subwoofer in there. What would you recommend for that setup?
Probably the TB line of subwoofers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we have TB8 and TB10. And those are circular loaded enclosures that come with an active 8 or 10-inch active driver and then a matching sized bass reflex driver on the other side. So they're small, compact, but they're made for an all-weather environment.
Watertight and fantastic bass. You get the bass of a ported enclosure because you've got that passive radiator technology.
Right.
So you can put 2 of these, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think we've got a demo vehicle that's got like 8 of them on there.
We do, and they mount horizontally or vertically. So if you have a small footprint you're working in, especially it's important side by sides, you can mount it vertically so it stands up if you choose.
And these are self-contained active units, or is it an amplifier separate that was required?
So they are passive. They do not have an amplifier built into them. So you could use, one of the PX amps is generally what you'd use to power those in a Powersports environment.
You could also use the marine amplifiers. We've got 2 lines of marine amplifiers that are built to ABYC standards. So not only are they good for boat applications, but side-by-sides and UTVs, ATVs as well. Great product line.
And on the second half of that question, if you were to recommend me as it's phase 2 and I want to add some cans, what would you recommend in that scenario?
Oh, go nuts, man.
Yeah, we've got a lot of cans to choose from. One thing that I actually forgot to mention on the KMXLs, you can actually put those into our unloaded marine cans. So if you buy the 8-inch KMXL speakers and then the unloaded 8-inch cans, you could do that. But of course, we make a ton of preloaded cans as well, all the way up to an 11-inch with a compression horn. All stainless steel brackets, etc. So really depends on how crazy you want to go, because we got something that fits everybody.
And a 1200-watt 2-channel stereo amplifier to drive those cans.
Yep, 1200 RMS, full range.
Yeah, big power.
That's nasty. I like that. And you know what I've seen? I've seen guys just, even though they upgrade and they still keep the power bar. Like I've seen powers not come off. They just keep it there because it just fits so handy. Okay, now I'm going to get into the good stuff. I want to talk about these KMXL. Not that the bars aren't good. The bars are great, all right? Don't get me wrong. But I'm excited about these KMXL because I want to give you guys a pat on the back here. This is some pretty innovative stuff. What you've managed to present here is a fantastic solution for dealers looking to streamline inventory, because that's the first thing that came into my mind. The second thing is, you've come up with a convertible speaker. I think that's the best way I could kind of describe it. It's a convertible. It could literally be for either near range or near field or I don't know what the opposite of near field, far field. No,
far field, sure.
Far field, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so just to understand, those 2 configuration horns, adapters, those both come in the box.
Correct.
So this is not something else that you have to order.
Exactly.
No, and as you were alluding to, there are some retailers that will say, if you're going to listen to the speakers in the boat, then you need to be using coaxial drivers with traditional tweeters. But if you're going to be listening to it outside the boat, then you can use horn-loaded compression drivers. Well, with our technology, that's not true, because you get the sound quality of a component system, a nice high-end component system, but you get the huge SPL, the huge volume, because of the compression driver. And again, it comes back to the magic of this Tractrix geometry that we use in these horns. So you can listen to this in the boat at low levels and enjoy the experience, or you can crank it up with 1200 watts and go, oh my God, that's loud, and still sounds good.
Exactly.
I think what we're I've done these marine sessions and Powersports sessions, and I think I've identified there's almost like 2 kinds of clients. If we're talking about marine, you mentioned marine, Eric. You have those maybe luxury boats that just want that really crisp, high quality sound, ambiance. Yeah, a little bit of jam, but not really to make your ears bleed. But then you got the other customer, who, you know what I'm talking about. It's the level is always 10. Yeah, exactly. The level is always 10, and the more skin that melts off my face, the better.
Yes.
And I think this is, and I'm not saying it's not for the other guy, but man, this is a great option for those type of customers. And from a dealer perspective, the inventory, I mean, you could keep that. What size is that available in?
6.5-inch and 8-inch and 6x9.
And so all 3 of those feature the same technology.
Yes, only the 6.5 has the 2 separate horns for the Harley, the shorter horn that fits behind the Harley.
Which makes sense.
Right.
Yeah. And we all know 6.5 is your standard go-to anyways for marine, so it makes total sense. But for those dealers that dabble in the marine, dabble in the Powersports, dabble in the Harley Davidson, one SKU.
Yeah, one SKU.
I'm just going to say, I think that's a game changer. That is definitely, from a buying standpoint, something extremely cool. Did you mention that there are 2 grills that come in that kit as well?
There is. There's the white and the charcoal both come in the box. Again, you don't need to buy a separate accessory or anything like that. When you buy a pair of these, you get everything you need in the box. You're ready to rock.
Neodymium magnets. The other question I had on here, I know it comes with a passive crossover. Okay. Are these biampable as well? And would there be a benefit if it was?
Yes. So I don't know if, Aaron, if you can pull that off the metal. There are separate inputs for the woofer and the horn. So if you choose to biamp and run actual active crossovers to them, you can certainly do that. Let's see if I flip this over. Ernie, if you can get me a little tighter shot here. There we go. So you can see this pair of wires here. It's kind of blue and a black, and then a copper silver. These are going to be your speaker inputs for the woofer and the compression horn. And then this is your RGB connection. So if you choose to use a biamping setup, then you have that option. Just go ahead and clip the plug off, and you won't even use that anymore. But most of you guys, if you don't want to go crazy with it, use the passive crossover, use that watertight connector, you're good to go. And on the note of being watertight, one thing we didn't mention, there is actually a water, how do I word this? A water-resistant membrane. It's more than water-resistant.
Oh, yes.
It's a one-way valve for water membrane in the throat of that horn. So
for the 6x9.
Well, it's in that as well. It's
on the inside, yeah.
It's on the surface of the 6x9 and in the throat of the 6.5 and 8 inch. I don't know if you'll be able to see that on camera, probably not. Anyway, my point is if the speaker itself gets splashed, get caught in the rain, whatever, it's made for that. The entire front surface of it is watertight. And then on the rear of it, actually, is a silicone gasket. So once you've actually mounted that into, whether that's the hull of the boat or whatever it might be, it's a very, very watertight connection.
I think I'm about to join the Geek Squad here. You're gonna love me for this. I think the term you're referring to is selectively permeable membrane.
I like this guy.
Yes, well done, Ben. Well done.
No worries. Well, I'm about to give you back some geek props here. So before I do that, the RGB lighting, how does Kicker deal with the lighting? Is there a controller, and how does that work?
So we do. We have the KMLC, which is the Kicker Marine Lighting Controller. So that is what you would use to connect all of your RGB lighting together. You can adjust color, you can adjust different lighting modes, whether you want strobing, whether you want one solid color. There's a lot of different, I believe it's 19 colors, 20 modes, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, about right.
Pretty darn close, let's put it that. So you can dial in the specific shade of red you want. Well, I want one that's more pink. Well, great, we got a color for that.
And does it come with extensions with terminated ends, so you can extend those, or do you have to go and splice, or how does that work?
So they don't come with like dedicated extensions that have a connector. We do have, however, 6-wire by the spool. So it'd be 2 runs of speaker wire along with 4 RGB wire. That's available in a spool, and so you can run that through a boat very easily, especially if you're running up through towers or something like that. And again, if you're running up the towers of a Powersports vehicle and the roll cage of a side-by-side or something like that to power those marine cans with RGB lighting, the 6-wire would really pay off on that.
No need to take the wires on a drill and spin them all up and curl. Yes, I got you.
Yeah,
very good.
exactly.
My last thing about this particular topic is I wanted to give Aaron the award because every time there's a new term dropped on CMA, I want to give props, and that is track tricks equation. Boom, boom, boom. Nobody's ever said track tricks equation on CMA. So
okay, thank you.
I wanted to give you that one. Let's shift over to the bags now. Let's talk about Harley Davidsons for a second.
Sure.
That 6x9, the new KMXL, looks pretty beefy. I know you tell me that fits perfectly onto those lids. I can only imagine that it does.
Yes.
For the 6x9 version.
Sure.
Okay.
Not a problem.
And
you can use, whether you use it, you don't have to use even a Kicker specific one. God forbid. If you wanted to use it, they're a universal 6x9 inch cutout.
Okay, very good. But as far as the clearance and everything with that new KMXL, no problem.
I don't know if you can see, maybe from the side, so you can see you got a ton. You got inches of room above it if need be. And of course, below it, you're just down into the bag, so you got a ton below it also.
And as Ken pointed out earlier, on the 6x9 specifically, that membrane that I can't remember what you said that was so eloquent.
Semi-permeable.
Electively
aperiodic.
Electively,
Oh, okay.
selectively permeable.
Selectively permeable, yeah.
That is actually on the outer edge of the horn, because we know in most applications the 6x9 is going to be mounted with the horn up. So we want to keep water out of that horn, and that's why that membrane is on top of the horn in that application. In the others, the 6 and the 8, that membrane is on the inside, because the water is going to be allowed to run out of the horn in every other orientation.
Yep. Slightly different. Looks a little bit different. Same idea.
One more thing on Harley Davidson on that 5x7. I mean, that is some serious OEM integration right there with the factory Molex. Guys tuning in. I mean, that is a plug and play. Like, forget about splicing, whatnot.
Truly
that,
plug and
14
play.
and up. You said 14 and up, Ken. I think.
Yes,
you
sir.
Said. And is that something we're going to see more of? Is that the only item in the lineup that is truly plug and play like that?
Currently, that is correct. Is it something you'll see more of? If we were in charge, yes. It's something that we've kind of been pushing for. We'll see going forward.
Well, and in some of the older bikes, you don't have that specific plug.
Right.
They're using traditional spade terminals, and our 5 1/4 inch and 6 1/2 have the correct size spade terminals. So you could also unplug and plug those in. It's just not a convenient one-piece plug. That's the difference.
Fair enough. And I do want to commend you on that unique bridge tweeter design. It kind of looks very unique as well. That separates.
It is. So it helps angle the tweeter, of course, towards the listener, and then B, it keeps the motor of the rest of the speaker, keeps that watertight. So of course, as water falls down on it, I mean, it's going to happen if you're on a bike, then it doesn't get down into the voice coil and into the motor of the speaker. So it keeps watertight integrity, having that tweeter up on the bridge like that, and then the angle.
Okay. I saved this last comment for my last comment. So this new TMXL technology, because I keep circling around that because I think it's a game changer. Are we going to start seeing that in the cans?
Well, as Ken pointed out, you could use these in our currently available unloaded cans. So yes, you can put those right into our cans today.
You sure can.
Okay. So you guys sell the cans unloaded?
Yes, we do.
I did not
6.5 and 8 inch.
Understood that. Okay, understood. Okay, so that is an option that they could combine those two. Okay, fair enough.
Sure.
I'm almost wondering in the future, why would you even have two separate, like, near field and far field versions if you just load them with this, that let the customer decide?
Yes.
Right.
Just a question. That's a question. I'm out. That's it. You guys answered. I tried my best to stump you guys. It's obviously mission impossible. I can't stump you guys, but I really appreciate you guys coming in today and showing us everything that you showed us today. I think there's a lot of value in the innovations that Kicker's presenting. And anybody who's tuning into this is certainly going to take some notes. So the final question is, how are we looking as far as timelines on that new product?
No, that's not questions for us. That's questions for Dave Singh. Dave is the man who talks about timelines, not us.
No timelines from you. I tried. Okay, that's good.
Here we go. Pluck.
Aaron, Ken, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing with us all this great information. Can't thank you enough. And shout out to the entire Kicker team, R&D, all the way up to the guy, Ernie, who's pushing all the buttons here. You guys always,
Mr. Ernie.
You guys always put up a great show and a great presentation. So we do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ben.
Appreciate
See
it.
ya.
Thank you, Ben.
Take care. And I always appreciate it when Team Kicker comes to us live from their studio. Such professional grade, and when their trainers come on, I mean, I can't even think of a question they can't answer. I try my best, though. I try my best. But there is that question that I asked that deserves an answer, and that, of course, we'll need to bring back our good friend Dave Singh from Gemsen to help answer that question. Hey, Dave.
That's a great session. Those guys are always on their game.
100%. But a lot of new stuff was introduced, stuff that nobody's even seen before, which is pretty exciting. But what are we, like, realistically? Do you have any insight as far as inventory or timelines on some of this stuff?
Well, from a Canadian perspective, the power bars, those are now shipping. The KMXL, those are the horn-loaded speakers that Aaron was showing with the replaceable horn for the motorcycle adapters or applications, I should say. So that was actually, we were getting a sneak peek. Those are coming probably around end of second quarter to third quarter. So we're really excited about that, but we were really privileged to be able to see that a little bit ahead of time. That's going to be a really hot product once it gets released out there.
We're definitely going to talk about that a little bit more. But overall, though, what was the main takeaway for you for the presentation today?
Well, Powersports is certainly another opportunity or another avenue for dealers to get some additional revenue from. Let's be honest, they're all toys, right? So if you have a truck and you've got an audio system and you've got a kicker system in it, there's a good chance that you might have a side by side, you might have a boat, whatever it is, and anybody that has that extra expendable income to have those kind of toys is willing to spend additional money to have maximize the amount of enjoyment they can get out of that. So Kicker has always been one of those companies that have taking things to extreme levels. They're not just going to take an existing product and kind of, repaint it or whatever. They're going to put a lot of thought and a lot of engineering behind whatever they come up with to make sure that it lives true to the Kicker legacy of, just living loud and having a great time listening to their products.
I'm happy you brought that up, because when you talk about innovation, I got to circle back to those KMXL speakers right there. I made it a point to tell them that I think it was a game changer from a design perspective. It's going to affect the way dealers, look at their inventory, right? Because of the different applications. I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on that. Are you on the same page as me when it comes to the level of game changerness, if that's a word?
Oh, 100%. I think we've seen a lot of horn products, over the past few years. When was the last time you heard track tricks? The terminology track tricks. But that just shows how extreme they take their engineering, right? I think a lot of people might think a horn is just the shape that it ends up being is just whatever somebody creates, but there's a method to the madness. There's a lot of engineering that goes into that, and that will dictate how the horn driver projects, whether or not you want to project close to you, like when you're on a motorcycle, or whether or not you want to project far out behind you while you're out on the water. So very cool terminology.
Terminology and innovation, Dave, because I think that's going to make for some pretty interesting experiences when it comes to demoing the product for a customer in your showroom.
Certainly, if you have the ability to demo in a better near field environment, and you've got a small showroom, for example, you're going to have a more realistic effect versus having to stand back 15, 20 feet to try to get the experience you would using tower speakers.
Absolutely. Listen, I want to give you the last word on this. What is the message you have on behalf of Jemsen about Kicker products in both the Powersports and motorcycle categories?
Well, as I said before, Kicker is an innovative company that's engineering driven, and whatever they come up with, that they're going to maximize and engineer it, all the way. They do not leave any stone unturned, and they're a company that's really going to push everything to the most extreme levels. We've never known Kicker to cut corners or do anything like that. It's a reputable brand. That's a legacy brand that's been around for decades now. So, consumers are well aware of it. They understand that Kicker is all about, living loud and having a good time. And it's about having high performance products that are going to last and are going to be engineered to perform for a long time. So definitely investing your money into any Kicker product is going to give you years, if not decades, of a positive listening experience. And from a retailer standpoint, you can't go wrong. You have an awesome company developing product so it's going to last long and you're not going to have comebacks. And Jemsen is there to support and take care of any inventory challenges or anything like that. So it's a great partnership all around.
Amazing. Well said, Mr. Dave. Thank you so much. Of course, Dave said himself, you're interested in some Kicker product, you want to become a dealer, get a hold of the good folks at Jemsen, and they will set you up, especially if anything you saw today piqued your interest. And although some of it might not be coming yet, you got to get ready and prepare for it. So give the team at Jemsen a call, and they'll set you up. Dave, can't thank you enough for coming in today and being part of this experience with me.
Thanks, Ben, and thanks, Aaron and Ken.
Absolutely. Take care now. There you go, folks. Thanks for tuning into this session of Connected. This is actually our final episode in our Powersports session because, believe it or not, we are moving on to our very next topic. And our next theme is, of course, motorcycle audio. Motorcycle audio sessions starting tomorrow, right through until Friday, April 29th. Got some great brands presenting in this hot segment called Motorcycle Audio. Everybody's doing it. All the cool kids are doing it. You better get into it, or at least do the research and watch our sessions and find out what you've been missing out on or what's coming up new. Lastly, make sure to visit our revamped website, cmanetworks.com, where you can sift and search and go through our archive of hundreds of videos, either by your favorite brand or your favorite category, or maybe even your favorite trainer. Check it out, cmanetworks.com. That's it. Thanks for tuning in to CMA Connected, presented by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. Until next time, we connect.
I mean, yeah, let's talk about
Stop
today.
it.
Where I'm going to
Yo,
topics.
roll it down. I am.
You don't need a car to listen to SiriusXM. You can listen anywhere. You know that, right?
What? Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud Radio.
Kevin, you could use your phone.
What? What?
Alexa, play Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud Radio on SiriusXM.
What?
This is how I know you're getting old. I guess that was it.
What?